Hello everyone, this is Sister Garver. I just wanted to touch on some of the key points in the OnCourse Chapter 5. I goes into a lot of different things with interdependence, and we're not going to be able to get into all of it in this brief video, but I at least wanted to touch on some key points. He talks a lot about creating your professional support network by finding resources at the school, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But I wanted to touch on some points here about creating a social support network. This can be really hard to find time for in your really busy lives, but it is really important to try and find time for social activities and create friendships. He points out in the text that many people form lasting, even lifelong relationships in college, and so it's important to try and take the time for that. Also, if you're in high school, same thing. Try and take time to create relationships, reach out to people, get to know people face to face. A couple tips in that, it can be hard nowadays in our digital society to be used to talking to people. Try to do a little practice. Take the initiative, walk up to someone, learn about them, ask them some questions. Make sure that you are willing to go past that and invite them to something or accept an invitation to something, exchange contact information, that sort of thing. Here at this point where I say make it explicit, what I mean by that is if you are interested in getting to know someone better, say that. Hey, I'm interested in getting to know you better. If you enjoy someone's company, say that. Hey, I really enjoy your company. I really like your personality. People like the reassurance of knowing that they're liked, and so that really helps relationships along when you are willing to communicate those things explicitly. Some communication strategies, I'm not going to touch on these too much. I want to make you aware of some of these conversational strategies so you can start to identify some of these positive and negative communication strategies in yourself and in others and start to work on it. Because again, communication could be a whole enormous lecture, a whole class in itself. And we can't go into all of it, but we can talk about certain positive communication strategies and negative communication strategies that can harm our relationships. I wanted to specifically touch on active listening, as is touched on in the text. Active listening is all about being present in the conversation. You don't want to be on your phone. You don't want to be distracted. You don't want to be listening to someone else. You're listening to the speaker, and you're fully engaged in understanding and reflecting back to them what they're saying. As part of a conversation, when it's your turn to be the listener, you want to be listening to what they're saying, listening to understand, not listening just to waiting for your turn to speak. And make sure that you repeat back to them, is this what you're saying? Make sure you're understanding them. That's what active listening is all about. Both your body language and your posture and your conversations should be focused on understanding what they're saying, and hopefully they will also be an active listener back when you're having that conversational give and take. I want to identify a few negative communication styles that people have, and these are ones that you might see in yourself, you might see in your family, you might see in relationships, dating relationships. And any of these can be very negative and can really harm your communication. I don't have time to go into a lot of them, but there are positive ways of communicating. Most of these communication styles are trying to get something. They're trying to meet a need, but they're doing so in an unhealthy way. And so we want to be able to identify when we have these negative communication styles and be able to replace them with something positive. With that, I wanted to touch on, this is Gottman's Four Horsemen here. He primarily talks about this in relationship to couples, but this works in pretty much any relationship. These are negative communication styles that, again, they're trying to accomplish a good purpose most of the time. They're usually trying to fill a need, or they're trying to help you accomplish something, but they're doing so in a negative way. And see, these are some examples of negative communication styles and the antidote for those. So you probably have heard a lot on communication styles for using I statements. For example, here, to counter criticism, you never do this, you never do that, you always do this, you always do that. Instead, you're going to say an I statement. You're going to say, I have this need. I'm expressing a positive need. And then that gives the person the opportunity to help meet that need. So you want to be aware of each of these communication styles, and you want to avoid the negative and replace it with the positive. One last thing to touch on quickly before the video ends here is your inner guide conversations. That's all about talking it out with yourself. There's a lot here, and you're going to have to just kind of practice this to try and be an active listener with yourself. I think the biggest key, though, is trying to be aware of these communication styles, learning what yours are, learning what others are, and just keep working on it and being patient, because it takes a lifetime to learn to communicate. So I hope this was helpful, and have a great week.